live now.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Margarita Amplo from MCA Consulting, where we help grow your business the modern way by providing you sales and marketing services. And we're here live at Rip Roaring Productions in Westchester, Pennsylvania, and want to welcome you back to our video podcast series, Business Talk with Marg, where we invite experts to join us monthly to discuss topics and provide us with tips to help the specific challenges that businesses are facing today's environment. And today we have Suzanne Barba, who is a CPA specializing in tax consulting and compliance and is the owner of Suzanne Barba Consulting. Welcome, Suzanne.
Thank you, Margarita.
Thanks so much for being our guest today. So you have worked for the big four out there and global corporations. And then one day you just decided, I want to pivot and I want to go ahead and offer, my services to a different type of audience, which is entrepreneurs, which is great. And why did you decide to do that? Was there a specific reason?
A lot of it was personal, but I really love the idea of having an act two, right? I was in business for so long and loved all my clients, loved what I did, but I just wanted to do it for, people who have the same need, but may not have access to someone with the kind of expertise that I have.
Right.
And
that's awesome.
I'm fortunate that I'm able to do that and have made some great friends along the way.
That's great. That's awesome. And so it's that time of year now, tax time. We all dread it, right? Poor you, you're busy. But, as a small business owner myself, are there any specific tips out there that you could give us as far as, any changes that are made and how we could prepare for filing our 2021 taxes?
Yeah. Well, it does seem like tax season has never ended. When COVID started, tax season started, and, COVID continues, and so does tax season. With all the extensions, it just went from one time to a next. But anyway, we are in the 2021 tax season. And probably first I would say the mantra for this tax season is patience. The IRS continues to be overwhelmed and understaffed, and like so many of us, the IRS is still operating under a COVID umbrella, changing rules, unseasoned staff. But regardless, right? You still have to pay your taxes, or at least file your taxes. And having a business is a great way to have some tax planning to go into place. And it's not too late, So I guess I would start with really the Paycheck Protection Program, PPP. Now that was a big one in 2020 and 2021 that came about because of COVID, where the Small Business Administration was allowing businesses to apply for loans. But those loans could be forgiven. And if you applied for that forgiveness and you received it, one of the good things is it's not income. So many times when you have a loan and the loan is forgiven, you still have income for tax purposes.
Okay.
So
awesome.
No income there. The other one I would bring up is business meals. So when I think about it, again, it's under that COVID umbrella because the Small Business Administration had heard how much the restaurants were struggling. So in order to get people to go out and go into restaurants and take advantage of whatever the restaurants were offering, they said, well, okay, only for 2021 and 2022, if you go out to a restaurant to have a meal in the restaurant, you will be able to deduct that meal 100%, the cost of that meal, 100% on your taxes.
That's nice.
Normally, right, it's only 50%.
Only 50%. Right. So that allows us to want to go to the restaurants and actually help out the restaurants as well, which is great.
Yes, and sometimes, just besides going out to the restaurants, it's always good to think about, what you do for your staff.
Right.
So if you are another 100% deductible expense, meal related, is if you're bringing meals in for your staff, if you're taking your staff out, all of that is also all 100%
great.
deductible.
Great.
So some things to keep in mind as an entrepreneur.
Right. Awesome. That's great.
So I guess if we want to move past the meals and things to think about, there are some provisions that are sunsetting, but still things to consider.
Okay.
So many businesses were hurt by COVID, right? And revenue went down and businesses wound up having a net operating loss, meaning that their expenses for the year were more than their income for the year. Usually, when you have that loss, the only thing you could do with it is carry it forward and hope that you have revenue in subsequent years, right? That you could take that loss and apply it against revenue going forward.
Right.
But if you have a loss that occurred between 2017 and before 2020, so in that time period, you can take that loss and carry it back. So if you think about it, say say you had a loss that you incurred in 2019. And you thought, okay, well, I'll carry it forward. And then COVID hit, and you had no income in 2020, no income in 2021. Take that loss and look backward, because you might have had some really profitable years in there, and you could take that loss, carry it back, recoup the taxes that were paid in an earlier year. And for someone who's starting a business, maybe when they started that business, before that time, maybe they were an employee, right? And they had a W-2 and they paid, taxes back on their W-2. You could still take those business losses and apply it against your W-2 income.
Okay.
So another way to get money back from, the taxes that you had paid previously.
Right. Awesome. Well, that's great. That's awesome.
Yeah, there were also a number of credits that were introduced. So so many of them are related, like to healthcare, but one of them, the employee retention credit. So if you were a business, and so many businesses were closed, in Pennsylvania, there was a whole 3 to 6 months that the governor said businesses are closed. If your business was closed, if you kept your employees on the payroll, you are able to take a credit of up to $10,000 per employee for the wages you paid them.
Oh, okay. Great.
And a credit is better, in the tax world, a credit is better than a deduction, because a credit is a haircut right off your tax liability.
That's awesome. That's great.
Yeah, so,
Wow.
just something to think about, as you're moving forward, and maybe thinking 2022 is going to be your year for, continued success. Well, what was there in the hard years, that you could still take advantage of?
Right. Well, great. And then I think you touched upon this a little bit. For instance, there are a lot of employers out there that are having their employees work from home. Is there anything that can help them out as far as tax related issue, like, deducting things and stuff like that? Or
So, having a business is a great tax planning tool.
Yeah.
When you're an employee, it's a lot harder because you have a W-2, and there isn't a whole lot you can do with that W-2. Taxes were taken out, they were reported to the IRS.
Right.
And, in the past, from a federal perspective, even as an employee, you had some deductions you could take because you were an employee. From a federal level, those are gone. But from a state level, there still are opportunities. So Pennsylvania is one of those places where, in filing your state income tax return as an employee with a W-2, you can still take a deduction, so not a credit, but a deduction for unreimbursed business expenses. So, right, you're out of pocket. Say you're working from home, you have to buy, file folders, and you have to get your office all set up, and, nobody's reimbursing you for that.
Right, yeah.
If that's the case, save those receipts because you can take it as a deduction on your federal taxes. In your Pennsylvania taxes.
Okay,
So
right.
just something to consider. So many states are like that.
Right, right.
But you know,
Oh,
you
that's
gotta.
great.
You don't think about it because you don't take it
Right.
for federal purposes.
Right. And then I guess, you know, as we're planning ahead and looking, you know, to the end of 2022. So what advice do you have for us?
So you have a business owner like you, right? And we're really hoping 2022 is the year for us
Right.
to make that big comeback.
Right.
As businesses are starting up again, and even those that were so successful during the pandemic, right? There's a thing called an S corp election. It's a federal election, but if you're a successful business, a business who can afford to pay a salary to your owner, you should consider making that election. It's a way to save on self-employment taxes. So unincorporated businesses, as you make money for your business, that those profits are going to be subject to FICA tax, Medicare tax, you know, expensive.
Right.
If you're an S corporation, though, you would have that on your salary, but the rest of the profit from the business isn't subject to those taxes.
Okay.
So a way to save, like, you know, up to 10-12% of your income.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's great. Okay,
Yes.
it's a good thing
Yeah,
to think
yeah.
about. for
Good
the
thing to
future.
think about.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, great. So what would be the best way for our viewers out there to ask you any questions if anything should arise? And feel free out there if you have any questions to go ahead and type your questions and we'll get back to you.
Yeah. So, you know, my first consultation is always free, so I encourage people to ask questions. But, you know, on my website, you can make an appointment. And that website is www.suzannebarba.com, or you could send me an email, right? Suzanne@suzannebarba.com, and I'll get back to you.
That's awesome. Well, great. I mean, I learned a lot today. I appreciate you coming
you're
on today
welcome.
and joining us. Wanted to thank you again, and I hope you can join us next time on Business Talk with Marg. We have Tom Giraldo from Ecotech with us, and he will give us some tips on improving your website presence. And don't forget to like and subscribe to our page here, and have a great day. Thanks again for joining us.
Thank you. Bye.
Okay. Good.
Yep, we're good.
Awesome.